Well, day three at Randwick, All-Age Stakes Day, Champion Stakes Day is here. What a great day of racing we have ahead of us. Layback. This is Layback with Betfair, joined by Trent, Crebbin and Mitch Lewis. Start with you, Trent. You've been off overseas. When did you get back? Where were you? Seems like you're still on overseas time, mate. What's this?
Yeah, I'm a little bit in holiday mode. Vietnam for a couple of weeks with the boys, got back very late Sunday night and was straight back into it Monday morning. So, yeah, no rest, but no, it was good fun. It was a great time.
Very good, mate. Mitchy, how you found the carnival so far? Third Saturday in a row at Randwick. How you been going?
Yeah, g'day, Tommy. Trent. Yeah, look, it's been interesting, hasn't it? The track, they've played similar in the last 2 weeks, but the big sort of obvious thing is the tempo some of these races are getting run at. Throwing up some interesting results. So, yeah, sort of find if you get the tempo right, you can sort of make some money. But, yeah, it's been tricky in that sort of sense. But we had a good week last week, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned the tempo. The Oaks, 30 lengths slower than class benchmark or whatnot to the 600. And my selection each way, Verona Rose just had no chance back there off that slow tempo. So a couple of jockeys asleep at the wheel, even the winner and Damien Lane. With that runner there, Treasure of the Moment. Just got a bit lucky there, Mitch, I think. Just, almost made it a tough task for that hot pot favourite, Mitch.
And I suppose the thing, a lot doubted if she was a genuine 2,400 metre horse. So I think class has got her through that race. Don't think we'll see her go 2,400 metres again. So just the class filly's got the job done, and she was pretty lucky in the end, I would suppose.
Yeah, she's got to turn a foot. She's a star filly, and obviously racing in sports. Last week went through the top 3-year-old fillies, which was amazing. Trent, have you been watching the races over there? You been glued to the TV?
Yeah, I've managed to tune into the big ones or the group ones and follow along, and with varied success off no form. So, yeah, it was good.
Well, you're back in doing the form now. We'll throw to you. Keep going. Labins. And I'm disappointed because you've just put one in the last 2 minutes before the show, but travelling is just plethora of lay-bins when you get to airports and you travel, mate. People annoy you. There's all sorts of garbage behaviour at airports, at baggage carousels. Surely you've got a long list. I want a weekly list of lay-bins for your travels. But what have you got this week?
Well, the travel one that isn't on the list so far, but the one that got me coming back into Melbourne was customs. Got stung on the random customs check and had to go up through 3 separate lines and put all the bags through. Obviously nothing wrong there, but you got people unpacking homemade spices out of Glad wrap and all this stuff, and it's just holding up the line. I was like, I just don't need to be here. I don't belong in this customs line. So that added another 45 minutes onto the midnight trip home, which was horrendous. The other one that's come up just today as well is handyman or tradespeople coming around had to install something in the apartment and gave me a 2-day window, Wednesday or Thursday, 9 till 3. It could be at any time between then. So, of course, they've come 10 minutes before we're supposed to record and delayed us for 20 minutes or so. But yeah, that's just shocking. Come on, give me a window of a couple of hours and I'll be happy. That's horrible.
Removalists are the worst. And you live in apartments, you need to book lifts at a certain time, and you get a 3-hour window to book a lift, and they give you a day, the removalist, to turn up. You just can't actually get it done. It's ridiculous. Mitchie, I'm going to throw to you last because I'm very excited by yours, judging by the 2 words in the run sheet. But my lovely girlfriend bought a loaf of bread the other day, and I don't know whether this is an Adelaide thing, Mitchie, or South Australian, but they slice the bread long ways.
Oh,
the most
I've
ridiculous
never seen that before.
The most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. So you're getting like 35 centimetre piece of toast that you try to put in the toaster. It was just the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So that's straight at the lay bid. Mitchie, what have you got for us? I'm excited by this.
All right, little bit of backstory. I'm not sure how all over it you are, Tommy. Good friend of ours and Betfair's, Dean Watling. He's involved in a horse in a SEN syndicate that we're both on SEN. So we've got a horse syndicate. Her name's Cinch. She just won the Group 3 Aurelia Stakes there in South Australia. So main target now, SA Oaks. She's the race favourite for the Oaks. So what we were doing this week in the group chat was we were organising who can come, who's going to be able there to watch. And a lot of us, it's our first time having a Group 1 runner, let alone a favourite. And Dino's putting in an apology. He can't make it. And that's fair enough.
No.
Everyone has their excuses, but Dino's busy playing football that day, or rugby. So he's prioritising his what level of football? You know him a little bit closer than that. I'd say park football to miss his chance at a potential Group 1 runner there. So Dino will be running off the sidelines to watch it on his phone while the rest of us are there on track. So fingers crossed for Dino. He gets another chance to see her go around in a Group 1. But prioritising there. So I wondered what you'd think of that. That was his priorities there.
No, that sums him up, mate. He thinks he's a professional footballer at heart. He's not that good, Dino. So go see your horse win a Group 1. Good luck, Mitch, and to everyone on the SEN family with Cinch. That's very exciting. But, Dean, you need a lift. Get there for that. Just because he's a Leviathan owner now, mate. He just thinks he's going to have Group 1 runners every week. So there you go. All right, enough of that. Let's get to the fun stuff. Randwick, what a day of racing it is. The rail out 6 metres from the 1,000 and 5 metres throughout for the remainder there. A few showers around, Mitch. I'll throw to you on the track. How do you think the track will play? They have been off the fence, as you prefaced earlier.
Yeah, and again, I think I'd heard bits and pieces this morning. They had 16 mils hit the track specifically or something like that. So it's probably a watch. I don't think there's much more rain forecast. I would anticipate they'll come away from the rails again, particularly if it's a little bit wet. So I'm sort of thinking if there's a few more showers, it's soft 7 now, but I think it'll get to that soft 5-ish range. So there's going to be a little bit of give in it. I wouldn't say it's been a leader's track, but it's been an advantage to settle forwards of midfield. Probably your 2 lengths from the leader at the 600's been the sweet spot. So again, anticipating a similar type setup here, but it's just a little bit of a watch on how much more rain comes because they didn't forecast the rain that fell today, and it is Sydney.
Very much. It seems to rain every Friday night there. It's a good advertisement for late mail at Betfair and things we're doing with late mail because if conditions change, you can get up-to-date information through the Betfair app. So follow the tipsters with the late mail service. You'll get your notifications 5 to 10 minutes before the race. It's a brilliant feature of Betfair. And the good thing about it, Mitch, is that we actually want our clients to win. So we're trying to provide the best information, and that's why you're part of the Betfair team, providing your expertise throughout the Betfair app. So follow Mitch if you don't already do that. Trent, we'll throw to you. Race 3, we're starting with the Frank Packer Plates, 2,000 metres. I'm pretty bullish on this race. So I do like it as a betting proposition. Shangri-La Spring, the leader here. Trent?
Yeah, probably. I don't know if there's too much tempo. I think Plymouth went forward in the Derby and comes back to 2,000 metres. So maybe they try and run it along a little bit from out wide. I guess it's kind of all about the favourite here and what side you're on. It does really seem like you're either heavily with or heavily against Swift Falcon. I've been against him the whole way through, really. I just don't like taking these short prices about back markers. He was really good over 2,000 metres in the Rosehill Guineas 2 back. I think he was my lay of the day that day, and he was very good again. But I'm not convinced 2,000's his trip, and this just seems like a bit of an afterthought for me. So $1.80, I'm pretty happy to be against that. I think that's too short again because I just don't think he has the speed to take up a position, even if this is against easier company. I thought Plymouth, if they do roll along, could be the main danger. I thought he was good in the Rosehill Guineas as well. He was only beaten 1.5 lengths there. I thought maybe the improver could be number 6, Sigiriya Rock for J-Mac and Waller. Hasn't really done too much in 2 runs this time in, but gets to 2,000 now. And I think this has been his grand final all the way through. I think Waller's kind of identified he's that second tier horse, and this has been his target. So he's double figures. I thought he could improve.
Expecting a couple there at value in Plymouth and Sigiriya Rock. Swift Falcon's a fascinating horse, Mitch. He's a back marker. Trent and I think, spoke before that 2,000 metre race, and we both, I think, Trent agreed that he might be a better miler off a faster tempo, but he just gets back and runs home and is always short in the markets. But he's got those premier form lines. Mitch, how have you seen him?
Yeah, Trent's touched on a few things that I was against him with as well. One of the key ones for me is he's probably certainly the class horse of the race, but where is he at in the prep? So he's gone 1,600, 2,000, back to 16. Now he's back at 2,000. I think the clear goal of the prep was probably the Doncaster. They didn't get that opportunity to run in the Doncaster. So to me, it feels like a little bit of an afterthought. You toss in the fact that he's going to be settling dead last. He might have a class to win, but it's not. He's floating around that $1.90, $1.80 chance now. I don't love the setup, and at that price, I'm willing to dodge him. I'm going to be laying him at the price. Yeah, I think there's an opportunity there for if it doesn't go right, he's at the back end of his prep, and 2,000 I don't think is his exact go.
Pressing the pick button there, number 1 Swift Falcon for Mitch. Who beats him, Mitch, if you had a couple that can beat him?
Yeah, look, and again, this is one of those things we talked about a little bit earlier. Tempo-wise, if they give the race to Shangri-La Spring, it could be hard to catch now. Fit a third up, it needs to improve off its last start. I think Plymouth coming back down to the 2,000 metres is suited as well. So they're probably the two that I'm looking at. Like I said, Swift Falcon class, I'm relying on somebody to take a step up to beat him. But when I toss in the race maps, I think they get their opportunity to do so.
Yeah, well, none of you, Mitch and Trent, have mentioned the second favourite here in Firm Agreement, and he's my lay of the race. I can't possibly have him. I think Swift Falcon's a much better horse. He's gone past Firm Agreement 2 occasions like he was stuck to the inside fence. I don't think the setup, I know he's rock hard fit, but I don't think the slow tempo will suit him back in trip. And I think Swift Falcon's a much better horse. So I don't want to lose if Swift Falcon wins. I don't want to lay Swift Falcon. I've had some success in recent times backing these kind of non-winners when they get to these races. Hinged comes to mind in the spring. When their class is above, but they're still taken on by the market because they are non-winners. I think he's clearly the horse to beat, but I can spec a couple here. Shangri-La Spring, you mentioned, scary proposition, stable up in trip, off a slow tempo expected, can get every possible chance. The other one is Miss Alexis, a horse with a bit of upside, comes through incredibly slowly run Adrian Knox. 9th fastest final 200 metres of the day there over that 2,000 metres. Just tells you how slowly they went, had no luck, was in the market. So good winner, bit of an X factor, Norton the roulette, as they say. So could spec a couple, but I'm pretty keen to lay the second favourite there, Firm Agreement. Let's get to race 4, Group 3 for the fillies over 1,400 metres. It's the James HB Carr Stakes. Speed, Mitch.
Yeah, I think from the inside, Lilac's going to take up the lead. Barrier 1 there. We've seen Clean Energy go back and sort of be wide in its last few. I think now, given the fact drawn to the inside, Tim Clark hopping on, it's probably going to sit either outside Lilac or hopefully just a little bit off there. And I'd imagine your horses like Zytung's going to be back in the field, but it's Clean Energy, Lilac up on speed that I'm thinking here.
Yep. You got a bet in the race?
Yeah, I'm keen on Clean Energy. Settling in favourite now. I just think the run set up here, like I touched on, a little bit different. So obviously got caught out wide last start, but finished off strongly there. Now, Tim Clark goes on. We've seen the horse last prep push forward. So I think from that position, Tim Clark on, we're going to get a positive rides. Been strong in its last couple, particularly the win there at the Valley. So 1,400 metres, no real issue for me. I just think she gets the right setup. And Lilac, I know he's a winner over the 1,400 metres, but just fell down a little bit last start, got a bit too tired. And it's a horse probably with J-Mac on that I think could be a lay-in run because I think the horse leads and there'll be an opportunity. Maybe it'll be a bit short. And I think if Clean Energy carves up Lilac, Zytung could be the one that wins. So hopefully not. Clean Energy wins the race, but I'll be laying Lilac in the run likely.
Interesting. Very interesting. It's, I found it a pretty tough race. I've got a big opinion of Snow in May. A couple of Lilac brings some high ratings and great form into this as well. We touched on Ryan Moore last week, and Adam Blanco will put me in the lay bin again, but the big gear change, Ryan Moore off Clean Energy. Got to be a tick in the form guide, Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, he's a world-class jockey. It's hard to say, isn't it? Mine is more positioned this time. Ryan Moore, perhaps not as a positive jockey as Tim Clark is, and we know what Tim Clark's going to do. So to me, it's just a safer play that the horse is going to be up there, either outside Lilac or right there on speed, and probably take that bad luck wide run out of the equation, hopefully.
Yep. Trent, how have you seen the race?
Yeah, no bet for me. I kind of had Clean Energy on top. I was with her last start. Yeah, she was wide last start, but she was paced efficiently enough. I'm kind of leaning towards Adam's side in that debate. I just think there's on our ratings at Racing and Sports, there's about 3 or 4 pounds between the top 4 in the market. And I think the ones that have the best setup and the most upside, like a horse like Clean Energy, is the one that comes out on top. But I don't think there's any value in any of them, so I'm just going to shoulder arms. Question
for you, Trent. This is tongue in cheek, and obviously got a big opinion of Ryan Moore as a great jockey. But Racing and Sports seem to love this jockey. You're worldwide, you do ratings and whatnot around the world. You love Ryan Moore. You got a lot of posters up in the racing and sports office of young Ryan.
I think there might be a couple of photos pinned to Adam's computer.
He loves him.
I think, yeah, there's a little shrine to Ryan there. I think that's it. But yeah, like he is world class, and I guess with racing sports working worldwide and having those ratings, we do maybe see a little bit more of those overseas races that others may not. So we do get to see how well he does ride a lot of these races when he flies in, flies out, and just the results didn't really go his way last week.
Very true. All right, let's move on. I want to touch on race 5, the Catanach Jewelers Handicap. I just quick word, Mitch, Trent, have you done the race? It was a late inclusion for me because I found one at a bit of value. But Mitch, have you had a look at the race?
Yeah, look, I dove in, had a look, found it pretty tough. Lots of early money for Salui. I'm not surprised really there. City of Lights I thought was some value, but it's probably not a betting race for me. I've found a fair bit tricky in it, so I'll leave it up to you.
$7 a field when I last looked. Trent, you had a bit of a look?
No, I haven't had a look at it at all, so I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah, I just love the trial of number 8 here, Needs Some Luck. Running second to a very smart and fit Evaporator who went on to win. I thought the trial was as good as Evaporate. Horse has a great career record, sprints well, fresh. Berry knows this horse really well. I just thought he was a great bet, about $7 in a very tough race. But if he was the way I was going, I understand Louis got... was huge late winning first up new stable. Can see why there's money come for Sir Louis, but I just thought Need Some Luck on an each way basis. About $7, $8 bet there was a good price. So that's race 5, number 8 there. Let's get on to the JRA Plate, and this is a race that I found very tricky indeed. So I'll let you boys take it up. Now you've found the same horse together. I think Trent's got a bit of a Tommy 2 play, but Mitch, I'll throw to you first. You're with number 2 here.
Yeah, Boys to Argent. I'm just having a look now as well. It's getting in well supported here, which is a good sign. But I was floating around that $14 mark when I saw it. And look, I just thought the sort of 2 runs it's had this prep. For the Pride of Jenny run, it was never really going to be any chance there. But the one behind Choworth, reasonably handy. And I think conditions suit this horse now. 2,000 metres, can settle sort of there with a bit of cover up from barrier 9. I just think the way he's going is an each way play for mine. I think he's got the right setup here, fitter third up now. Ethan Brown, I just thought around that 14 plus, he was a good each way play. And I think, Trent agrees, which is makes me a little bit bullish as well.
Take it away, Trent.
Yeah, I kind of do agree. I think the ones that I'm kind of finding are the ones going to be settling on speed. And I just have to be against Handicap, who I think is a huge risk at 2,000 metres. I'm not a breeding guy, but for one, he's back capitalist who barely get 1,100 down a well. So I thought and it looks like he's kind of wanting further off last start in the Doncaster where he kind of got back and hit the line strongly. But that was a really slowly run race. I don't think it was a test of stamina. It was a test of speed. So I think it kind of inflates that idea that he is looking for further. First try 2,000, barrier 3, Reece Jones is probably going to be back and needing a bit of luck. Poised Argent, like Mitch said, I thought gets better conditions here onto a drier track here. I think there's no issue either as well. Rolls forward with Ethan Brown, and he's a Doomben Cup winner. Like he's a pretty handy horse when he's up and going. And the other one's New Endeavour. I thought third up. He was good behind Just Folk. I think in that Doncaster prelude, he was only finishing second there to that horse that was up on speed as well. Now third up, he gets to 2,000 as well, which I think is no issue for him. He's going to roll forward, and he did beat home NCAP when they met a couple starts back as well. So, or in that Doncaster prelude. So, yeah, I think they're the 2 that roll forward, Bois d'Argent and New Endeavour, and I think they control the race. And I think one of those 2 can be kicking on and winning.
Yeah, don't mind the form line through New Endeavour. Obviously beat home Handicap, as you said there. That Doncaster prelude makes him half a kilo better and probably better suited to 2,000. So I can definitely see your case there for New Endeavour. I've got a follower on Twitter, the Trial Files. Every time we tip a capitalist, has a go at us. So preaching to the choir there with the capitalist at 2,000. Hello, Betfair punters. We're excited to introduce a new feature on the Betfair app, Follow Tipsters. This feature will allow you to follow your favourite Betfair experts and receive notifications when their betting strategies go live. By clicking follow and enabling notifications, you'll never miss a tip from pros like Terry Layton, Mitch Lewis, Jackson Oldham and Bella Anderson. All exclusive in the Betfair app, so download and get started. Now, you got big shoes to fill here with the layback list, Trent. Adam ran through the top 5 3-year-old fillies on ratings currently, and it was a great debate and a great chat. We've got a great crop of 3-year-old fillies, but you're doing a similar list for us, top 5 rated horses post Winx-era in Australia, that is. So is it average of best 2 racing and sports ratings, Trent? Is that how you've done it?
Yeah, that's the way I've done it, because you can. I feel like that's a good representation. A lot of horses might have one peak, but I think you want to kind of balance your peak out with some of your previous form. So your average of your 2 best ratings at racing and sports. I think this kind of list has come about with people saying V16 is comfortably the best horse they've seen since Winx, and some people even putting her in the same category, which is wrong. But yeah, she was very good the other day and is right up there with some of the best we've seen, at least since Winx.
7 Group 1s in a season, goes without saying. Incredible record via Sustainer. I want to ask you, because you mentioned the 2 best ratings, but where does Antino's Turak win rate? A question without notice, and you can look it up after and tell me, but that seemed like an absolutely astronomical figure. Won that incredibly well. So that maybe that's something why you factored in top 2 ratings.
Antino's, it was actually not as high as you would think. It was a bit of an interesting one. The horses behind him probably didn't run up to form just off that interesting race shape. So it maybe looked a little bit better. The margin was a little bit inflated than what it potentially would have been in a different scenario. We actually had him matching his rating the start after, when he ran second in the Champions Mile to Mr. Brightside. So he's 124, 124, his 2 ratings, which doesn't quite make the list. But I will start it at the top. And it's not Via Sistina, who I think most people would have been expecting. It's actually Nature Strip, who he's got a 2 average rating of 130.5. He ran 131 at Royal Ascot when he won the King Stand, and then he's got a host of ratings at 130. I think he went 130 in a couple of his TJ wins, one of his Flemington wins as well. So he's cracked 135 times, I think, in his career. I think people kind of forget how good he was. He was a dominant sprinter. He was absolutely outstanding on his day. So yeah, he's, I think, the best we've seen since Winx, looking at that metric. And then
don't mind that at all. Just on that, Trent, don't mind that at all. Like, and there's some good form experts that when he got to $2 or $3, he was just a bet, because if he showed up 50% of the time, he wins, because he could beat any other horse on his day. So no surprise, really, to me. Nature Strip number 1 there. Number 2, you were mentioning Via Sistina?
Yeah, Via Sistina only just behind. So her Cox Plate win rated 132, which is Winx territory. It split Winx's 4 Cox Plates from a rating perspective. And then her second best rating we do have the other day in the Queen Elizabeth, 127. So a little bit behind that, but still very, very strong, which comes out 129.5 as an average. So only a pound below Nature Strip, but she does have that big peak in the Cox Plate, which was awesome and a true world-class performance.
Number 3, massive surprise for me. I was thinking, I wish I win, Pride of Jenny, etc. But number 3 is a surprise here, Trent.
Yeah, another one that's a little bit underrated. I think I was actually speaking to Adam Blenko the other day and said, can you name the top 5? And this one completely slipped his mind as well, Bivouac. I think we forget a little bit that his 2 Flemington wins, that Newmarket Handicap win and that Champion Sprint win, were pretty electric. He won by 2.5 and 3 over 3 lengths. He put a hole in Nature Strip that day, and Bossy was sitting quiet on him until the 100-meter mark. He kind of maybe went a little bit off the boil in some of those ratings, but he's a very good horse. He ran 128 in those pair of Flemington wins. Also had 127 there at Rosehill one day. So he's a very good sprinter on his day, and yeah, maybe a little bit underrated. It was during COVID times as well, so I think people kind of forget they weren't there on track either. And yeah, he was very, very good.
Interesting. Number 4?
Number 4 is Pride of Jenny, who actually matches the average rating of Bivouac, which is 128. So she ran 129 in that amazing Queen Elizabeth win last year, won by 6.5 over Via Sistina. And then she's got a 127. Her All-Star Mile win was 127 at Caulfield that day. So yeah, don't know whether we'll see her again. I think she's going maybe to Brisbane or something. But yeah, interesting career. One of the most fascinating careers we've seen in recent times.
And drum roll number 5.
Yeah, this is a little bit kind of hard to get one, I guess, because he's not an Australian horse. So I think if you had a few guesses at this, you still wouldn't get it. But technically, in Australia, Adabe has run 2 ratings that put him on this list at an average of 126.5 in those 2 wins over Very Elegant. I think the Randwick and the Queen Elizabeth 125, 128. He ran in that Queen Elizabeth. So that his Queen Elizabeth win by Racing Sports measure was actually 1 pound higher than Via Sistina the other day. Yeah, those two ratings have him just edging I Wish I Win and Red Zell, both at 126, who run some very strong sprint races as well.
Notable omission for me, and even the apologies, is the Caulfield Cup Melbourne Cup winner as well, without a fight. Was he somewhere in the mix? Would he be in the top 10?
Actually, not quite. There's a few ahead of him. He was 1-2-4 in both of those. I would actually say that his Melbourne Cup win was a little bit better than that. The time form model that the Racing Sports model is based off of has him a little bit higher than that, given that weight penalty that he got. So Timeform had him 127 in that Melbourne Cup win, 124 in the Caulfield Cup win. So that would put him in the mix for sure. Yeah, I think he's up there. And the other one that I was a little bit surprised about that was a similar kind of type was Incentivize. He was almost the same thing. He was 127 Timeform in that Caulfield Cup win, but a little bit lower on the Racing and Sports measure, which was just a little bit more conservative in that regard.
Very interesting. All right, let's move on to the Group 1s. Time to find winners. Champagne Stakes, the first Group 1, race 7 on the card. Belazane looks the leader, has led in her last 4, looks a lateral leader up to 1,600 metres. You've got Spicy Lou, who won a lead-up at a very moderate tempo. There's 3 key lead-ups here, and they're all very different. I found it a very interesting race to do the form for, because you've got what I think's the best horse in the race coming off of probably a subpar lead-up, and Nepotism coming off a 1,400-metre Rose Hill race. You've got the Sires, which is often the right lead-up for this race, with 42 horses doing the double over time, and then you've got the Fernhill, won by Spicy Lou at that slow tempo. So I found it a very intriguing race to do the form. Mitch, how have you found it?
Yeah, look, fascinating in the sort of sense, like Spicy Lou, they're going to go quicker than what they did last week with Belazane in the race. So it's interesting. I sort of probably won't bet into the race. There's a few things I would have liked to have seen. I'm going to assume State Visit with J-Mac on is going to be more positive than what we'd seen. I think if State Visit had a drawn somewhere towards the midfield, it was probably going to be a bet, but what's it going to do from barrier 12? And I might have a similar concern for Nepotism there at barrier 11, because we know that that sort of profile of the stable is to go back. So interesting setup. Tempo is going to be a complete key in this race. If they all go forwards and look at each other and go slow, I think some of those horses could be hard to catch. So it's a bit of a what-if race for me, in all honesty. Yeah,
it's a tricky map race as well. Trent, which is the better lead up out of those 3 I mentioned? Obviously, most of the field, I think there's only 1 or 2 that don't come through those 2 or 3 races.
Yeah, the one I'd be against, comfortably saying in third, is the Fernhill. That's pretty low down on the scale for a historical standpoint at Racing and Sports. I guess, you do have the backup for Spicy Lou when she goes forward, so they're all positives. But yeah, the Sires didn't rate particularly well either, to be honest. I mean, we've saying this time and time again, none of these 2-year-old races are rating very well. I think Vinrock just almost held his rating from the start prior at Flemington. So I was sort of against that. I do have Nepotism on top. I thought that was a pretty good win and had him. It was a similar rating to what they've run in the Sires, but probably did it in the fashion of a horse that's going to go on to more things. And, this looks more like a grand final for him getting to 1,600 metres. I've kind of actually landed on the stablemate of Nepotism, the Hawk stable, with Federalist. I thought he had no luck on debut at Newcastle. He was drawn barrier 2 and just never got a crack at them. Then last start in the Sires, he was really green. He got back, and then kind of when he started to make his run, he ducked in and was behind runners, and he finished off quite strongly. I thought 1,600 metres really going to suit him. I'd love to see them go forward on him. Like if Nepotism's drawn wider and they go back on him because they think he's their best chance and they just send Federalist. I don't know if they will, but yeah, he's the one at a kind of 20-1 mark that I could entertain.
Positive jockey Nash on too helps probably with Federalist chances, I would assume, given that sense.
Yeah, I don't know if they've got any, I haven't seen any headgear or something on him, but yeah, maybe they've got the other one in the race that's drawn wider. Maybe they do set up Federalist to go forward and almost use him as a bit of a bunny, but I think that'll actually work better for Federalist than it would for Nepotism.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, I agree with you, Trent. I can't have the Fernhill 15.1 lengths slower than class benchmark to the 600. It doesn't look like the right lead up for me. As you mentioned, the Sires, 42 winners have done the double, but they was 5 horses within 0.7 of a length there when they crossed the line. It didn't look a strong rendition. I thought Buffalo was clearly the run of the race. Fantastic, savaging the line. And I just think grand final nepotism here to win. Wish drew better, but just a bet for me. I think that's the right lead up. I think it's the right horse. Interesting to see if there is some resistance in the market going from 1,400 metres at Rose Hill now to Randwick mile. So a bit of a different setup. There might be some resistance, but he just looks the right horse at the right time. I think he's the best horse in the race, and I'm happy to be with him. I think $4 is a great bet. So number 2, nepotism and saving Buffalo. I think the right run out of the right lead up probably in the size. So that'll do me there in the Champagne. Let's get to the all age. This is one of my favourite races of the year. Brilliant race. Magic Time won this race last year, became the 10th filly and mare to win this race since 2000. So not a bad record there for the fillies and mares. English was the previous filly back in 2016, and seven of the last 9 winners of the all aged have come through the TJ, which is a dominant form reference for the all aged. Interesting speed map here, Trent. Belclair went back last start in New Zealand, but been dominant and showed her best when leading in Australia. You got Belclair leading this race?
Yeah, back with Airborne Baker. Yeah, she won those fillies races over the autumn and did really well. Over the spring, sorry, and did really well. Probably does go forward. Magic Time, I think, will roll forward as well, out to 1,400 metres. Yeah, there's not probably a whole lot of speed. Brias is probably there, right there again, like he was in the TJ. Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of speed again here, so it does look Belclair's race to control.
Yep. Does that put I know I'll just see who you tip on top in the run sheet here, but that's got to be a slight concern with the 2 horses that you have on top here, Trent, in Jimmy Star and Jolie Star.
Yeah, I think Jimmy's the one I'm most keen on, and you're right. I think the tempo's a problem, but what I don't think is that 1,400 metres will be a problem. I think it's really suitable for Jimmy. I think he won that. We spoke about it in length after that Oakley Plate win, and I think he just got his scenario there over 1,100 metres, and I think they've worked out now that his last 2 that, okay, 1,400 metres is probably his trip. When he'd got to 1,400 metres in the past, he'd run a new peak rating, I think, every time that he'd gotten to that trip. So I'm hoping that a horse like Belclair and Magic Time do run them along. I just think Briasa, I don't know. I just can't get him quite that short. I think he's a really talented horse, but I thought he had every favour in that TJ. Ran a new peak there, as you'd expect, and maybe he gets all the favours again here. 1,400 metres, I doubt will be a problem for him. Well, won't be a problem for him either. But I just want to see him do it again, and maybe in a little bit of a different scenario here. Whereas I think Jimmy, the sectionals that he ran there in that TJ Smith were outstanding. The sectional markup that we have, I think there was virtually nothing between them on the day. I think if Jimmy can maybe settle a little bit closer over 1,400 metres, he is drawn a little bit better this time as well. So I think pound for pound, I think he's as talented a horse as Briasa, if maybe not even a little bit better. But whether he gets his opportunity to do things the right way remains to be seen.
Mitch, I was licking my lips with Briasa last start because the ratings guys, this horse hadn't put a figure on the board. The ratings guys just kept getting Briasa out in the market late, and I knew, and I had a feeling he was a really good horse, and it was a more gut feel than ratings and what I'd seen. But he had the right run, and he got out to a stupid price, in my opinion, and it was a good result there, Briasa, and I'm sticking with him. I think he just gets the same favours. He's run 1,300 metres in the Hunter, tells me 14, no issue, especially from the map here, gets every possible chance, and I hope the rating guys push him out again late, and you agree with me, I think, mate?
Yeah, I when I map the race, I just think he gets those favours again. So really, Belclair is your obvious leader. This is going to be one of those. I can't see Belclair putting the foot down, really. I can see Belclair getting to the front and trying to rack and stack him type setup, which puts Briasa right in that perfect position. So if Belclair puts some speed onto it, I think that opens it up for Jimmy Star and sort of maybe even a broadsiding. But I just don't really see it. I think he gets that suck run, Briasa, like he did in the TJ from barrier 4. He showed he's got the tactical versatility. And if it's a slow tempo, he's got the superior turn of foot. So I know Jimmy Star could go with him, but he's not going to be as forward as Briasa. So he's got to go past him, basically. So I just think it sets up for Briasa like that. If Belclair goes quick and Magic Time goes with Belclair, perhaps that brings Jimmy Star into the race. But as it stands, I think Briasa is going to be hard to catch.
Yeah, my top four: number 2, Briasa; number 4, Jimmy Star; 11, Komochi adds plenty of interest in my opinion, and then Antino's got that figure and runs and can win this. I want to ask you guys about broadsiding. Now, I think this horse is dour at the best of times, especially over this trip, and he's getting older now. I don't like to set up at all for him here. I almost was keen to take him on over 1,400 metres. We've seen him first up over 1,400 metres just get there on the line with perfect rides. I just think it's a bit too dour for this, and I don't like the setup, and I think he's the weak link in the market. Am I crazy, Trent?
I actually just don't think he's that good.
Whoa.
He's run this preparation. Racing Sports, we've got him running the exact same rating 3 times in a row. He's run 118, 118, 118. To me, that says that he's hit his mark. I don't think he's improving, and I don't think he's improved since his Golden Rose win, which was again 118. He's never bettered that mark in another 6 or 7 runs. So, maybe if this was the target and he was coming into this, second up or something like that, maybe $6 is more of a fair price. But he's coming back from 2,000. It's just a strange scenario for him for a horse that I don't think is as good as his record suggests. He's got a record of a very good horse. He doesn't have the ratings to match that record.
Added confidence, that might be a little hamburger for me, Briasa and lay broadsiding. Mitch?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think barrier 3 and given again, I think Belclair has a huge sort of play on this race that with J-Muck on a positive jockey, if he can kick up sort of and settle midfield, I think that's his best chance. I agree. The 2,000 down to 1,400 metres, I think might just leave him a little bit maybe flat-footed when they all look to kick off. These other horses like Briasa and Jimmy Star, their turn of foot's going to be a little bit hard to hold out. So I think his best chance is a quick tempo where he can get a soft suck run. He's won 3 out of 4, 1,400 metres, so he can do it. But where exactly is he at? It's probably my query.
The barrier, it's a good point because it might be a blessing, but it also could be a negative. If he gets favours, he could work out and be the best horse and get that suck run. But if he does get held up at any stage, I just don't know if he gets the turn of foot, like you mentioned. So, yeah, I'm happy to be against broadsiding at that price and happy to be with Briasa. I just think it's a bet. One other race to touch on is the Group 3 Hallmark Stakes, 1,200 metres. This is a race I'm very bullish to play as well. I found a couple of value here. Trent, we'll throw to you. Speed here. I think Zoroastro has come out as we record this Thursday morning.
Oh, it has too. I didn't even notice that because I kind of threw him up on top. He would have been the leader. I think Coal Crusher probably rolls forward. I still think he's further than 1,200 metres now. Mitch might be the better one to throw to the pace here because he's far more over it than I am. But the one that I was keen on's come out, so it's going to be tricky for me.
How have you found the race, Mitch?
Yeah, look, from a race map point of view, I thought maybe Give Me the Beat Boys probably chances its arm and goes forwards. You've got Marzu on the inside who you'd expect to probably use that barrier. So there might be the two. And then, Coal Crusher's probably got no choice but to go forward. So I'm a little bit with you here, Tommy. I think there's a few sort of ways to look at it. And I'll touch on it in a little bit. That might pop up with my hamburger. But Marzu, I don't think suited. We keep falling into Marzu. It needs a heavy track. It's not going to get it here. I think the opportunity to bet is Jetabil, as long as you can get to the middle of the track and run on. Given it's drawn wide, that's the risk. But coming out of some stronger races and some sort of group level races, 2.3 behind Briasa last start. I know he was 10th to 13, but it was still a good run. And even before that, coming out of the Private Harry race, this is much easier now. 1,200 metres, he's coming down from group higher end of group sprint level. I think the chance, as long as you can run on, is Jetabil's.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's a silly price into $7 or $8 now after that scratching. But I think he's a great bet. 2.25 lengths off them in a TJ Smith. None of this have that form in a race that 5 come through a Star Kingdom, which I didn't find was a great race. We've got a pretty good line through Dragonstone, who runs around in these races often. General Salute was good. Dragonstone a close second and meets General Salute and Australia much better at the weights from that. I don't think that's the right lead up for this, and I went looking for a couple outside that lead up, and I found Jetabil as well. I think the class form lines comes through a Galaxy and a TJ, as I mentioned, close up, has the ability, will be charging late. The other one here is a horse that you might get $60 or $70 on Betfair, and I think that's a great bet. Number 3, Fearson. $46, $50 at the corporates at the moment. Yet to win below 1,300 metres. But first up, did run third in a Show County, first up in the spring at the 1,200. Placed in 2 of his 3 runs at this distance. Liked the trial, really liked the trial, ducking back to the inside, and just brings completely different form with a great first up record. So I think he's a great bet, Fearson, at about that $50 mark, and I'll be having something each way, Fearson, and having something to win Jetabil. Anything to add?
No, I'm happy with that. I mean, I if I had to go a rough one in the race, I'd say give me the beat, boys. Tempo play the key for it. But I'm sticking with Jetabil. Hopefully, just prayers that you can run on a little bit in the middle of the track.
Lovely. Let's get to hamburgers. Making me hungry. Trent, which way are you siding with for your hamburger this week?
Yeah, well, I initially had it in as that Jimmy Labriasa, but I've been worried out a bit by you guys. I do think I do get the point, Briasa. He just sets up so perfectly again. So I've gone back to the JRA Plate. I'll make New Endeavour the one for the hamburger. I'm going to back Boaz Dargent as well, but New Endeavour on top and laying Handicap. I think New Endeavour beat him when they met. I think he's far more suited 2,000 metres. He's going to roll forward with Tim Clark on speed, and Handicap I think is a big query at the trip. So back New Endeavour, lay Handicap.
Can't argue with that. Well, I'm almost doing an opposite with broadsiding my lay. Not my best lay of the day. I think that's firm agreement, but broadsiding the lay there and backing Briasa to win. I just think that's a bet. And a tricky day. There's a few I want to lay, but tricky day to staple a winner to beat some of these lays. So I might be pressing the pink button a few times during the day. Mitch?
Yeah, we sort of just touched on it then in the Hallmark Stakes. So I'm against Marzu. That's my lay. The minute that Zarastro came out, there's a fair bit of money for Marzu and sets up as your favourite now. I just think drawn to the inside, it's going to settle around midfield-ish and clearly does his best work on a heavy track, which he's not going to get. And then I'm just hoping Jetabil can run over the top of all of them in a muddling race. So I'm with you though, Tommy. It's probably not my best lay of the day. It's hard to sort of line the two up, but yeah, I think Marzu settling as the favourite now is crazy.
I could lay 3 or 4 in that Hallmark Stakes as it is. Dragonstone, General Salute, even a Straka I could potentially lay. Mizzou I could lay and just hope something gets over the top of them. So very interesting there. Keep talking, Mitch. Best bets?
Yeah, look, best bets there. I'm pretty keen. Briasa's probably going to set up as my best bet there in Sydney. Mornington Cup. I'm actually Berkshire Breeze in the Mornington Cup just as I pull it up here. Sorry, I'll just... I know that Trent's with just fine. That's clear danger for me on a Mornington track if the track's playing a little bit leaderish. But I've got a lot of time for Berkshire Breeze. And I might have a 2-bet play at Oakbank of all places, Tommy.
Yes, you got a
in
horse
the Railway there. Yes, I do in race 2. Parma Jamira, her name is. I think she's a winning chance if she handles the track. It's always the key there at Oakbank. So a horse we know handles the track comes up in the Railway, like I said, and that's Taunting. I think he's a good value chance, and Sursway coming out of some of the better sprint races of late. They're the 2 clear plays for me there in that feature event at Oakbank.
They're drawn wide there, Mitch. We touched a bit off air about you want to race to the outside fence late in the day, especially when there was 2-day carnival there. They're drawn wide, Taunting?
Yeah, Taunting 15 of 15, I believe it is, and probably one of the keys here, Jess Zarafis. She rides Oakbank really well, so I think he's floating around $6. He looks a good play and just saving on the informed Sursway.
Love that. Trent, best bets?
Yeah, I'm against Mitch in the Mornington Cup. I thought there was the Just Fine and Berkshire Breeze should be much closer together. I marked them kind of $3.54, and they're $2.56. So Just Fine. He had all the favours in the Neville Selwood last start leading them up. It took Chael Wolf knuckling down late to beat him by a nose, but thought that was suggested he's back on track now, third up 2,400 metres. Not much pressure here. If he gets rolling on the bend at Mornington, which can make it really tricky for these horses to catch. And Berkshire Breeze drawn 10 of 10. If they were going forward on him, I'd really be saving on him, but they've just got it in their head that he needs to be ridden cold despite all of his best form and ratings in that winter period at Flemington was when he was up on speed. So, yeah, Just Fine did beat him in that Bart Cummings last year as well when leading. I just think if they go back on Berkshire Breeze, he's a really big risk, and Just Fine will be up on speed. So, yeah, he's the one at Mornington for me. And then, like we touched on at Randwick as well, the JRA Plate. I think New Endeavour and Boaz Dargent are good plays to beat Handicap.
Very good. I'm laying firm agreement in the Group 3 Packer Plate 2000 race 3 on the day. I can spec a couple, and I think Swift Falcon probably deserved favourite there. But I'm pretty keen on a few races later in the program. Nepotism, great bet for me. I might save Buffalo there. Briasa I'll be backing, and a couple at value. Fearson, one of the best roughies I've seen in a while, at $50, and number 1 Jetabil there at about that $7.50 mark. So couple of best bets for me. Gents, been an absolute pleasure. Trent, glad you made it home safely. Hope you had a great trip. Mitchie, you're going to go to Oakbank this week? Easter Saturday?
No, not Oakbank this week. We tossed up. We almost had another runner, so we were going to do that, but I'll save the plane tickets for the Oaks the week after. And
say hello to Dino.
Well in that. Yeah, if she runs well in that, we're going to go to the Derby. So that's Dino's praying because I think he's got the bye, so he might be able to catch her in the Derby.
Jesus, that's amazing. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been Layback with Betfair. We'll do it all again next week.
Stay ahead of the game with the most up-to-date betting insights, track conditions and bias, scratchings, late market moves, and more. When it comes to betting, having the most up-to-date information can make all the difference. That's why we've introduced Betfair's Late Mail, the most informed tipping service on the market. Delivered by pros like John Walter, Glenn Ingram, Sean Byrne, and Bella Anderson, Late Mail provides expert insights closer to the jump, helping you adjust your strategy with the latest information and data at your fingertips. Late Mail is exclusive in the Betfair app, so simply open the app, follow Late Mail tipsters, and enable notifications to be ready when our pros send in their late bets. Stay informed, stay ahead, bet smarter with Late Mail.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.